Vue.js. I've been using Angular before that, and Angular, the main reason I stopped using it is because it had too many updates to it. You would find that the code that you were using, a good portion of it is deprecated. Is that a problem with Vue.js as well?
No, not at all. I started using Vue early in, or I think it was the end of version one, major version one, and then they switched over to two. We're still in version two right now. Major version three will be coming. I think it's sometime this year. I don't want to get it wrong, but I want to say around the summer. Evan Yu, the creator, is very adamant about like not breaking APIs unless it's absolutely necessary for some new performance reason or something like that. And backwards compatibility is always going. Contributors said that backwards compatibility is always going to remain a thing. I know the next version of Vue is specifically going to ship with two versions. One is going to be called the legacy build, and one will just be the normal one. And what that is for older browsers like IE11 or any browsers that don't support some of these new JavaScript features like proxies. Those browsers can get this legacy build of Vue, which it still works the same way. There's not really any limitations, but the bundle size will be a little larger. It's a little more code. All the new browsers, like the evergreen browsers, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, can just get this new bundle, which is a lot smaller and has the new JavaScript features in it. So I think they do a lot of work to make sure that that doesn't happen and you don't get that Angular fatigue. And it's worth mentioning the creator of Vue used to work with Angular originally. He was an Angular developer, and I remember hearing something that they mentioned at the time when they were working with Angular. Some things just felt a little off, and that's why they kind of went and created Vue. And Vue brought in a lot of the good things from Angular, but without a lot of the clunkiness and the baggage that came along with it.
A lot of the, for example, the directives, they are named quite similarly. You mentioned vif. In Angular, we have ngif. Same for vshow. In Angular, we have ngshow. So it is very similar. So if you're transitioning from Angular to Vue, it is very easy.
A lot of Angular developers would be able to see a Vue, like a Vue component, and you would at least be able to read it and understand it at a basic level without even knowing Vue at all. And I think that's where Vue really shines in one area. I did want to mention when we were talking about directives, I think we skipped over it, and this is probably the most useful one. Is v4. It's pretty much a loop structure, and it's used in the template HTML part of your component. And for instance, you want to display, you have a to-do list, and you want to display all the items for one day. Instead of writing out like li tag for every item and making each element separate, you just say write the tag once, li, and then v4 item and items, or whatever your array is called. And then it will make one of those elements for each object in that array that you pass it. And that's kind of the core of Vue. Like supposed to be a data-driven JavaScript framework. So you shouldn't really have to write much of the HTML, the DOM template. You should write it once, and then the code will decide how many instances of that happen or how many times it'll loop or whatever.
Is there any specific code editor you use for Vue applications, or you use the cloud version?
Yeah, I use Visual Studio Code. I really like Visual Studio Code. I'm a strong advocate for it. I love that it's open source, and it's a fantastic editor. There's extensions for everything. And I think it's worth mentioning, I can send you this link also. There's an extension for Visual Studio Code called Vetur, Vetur, and that adds a lot of like syntax highlighting and support in the editor for Vue components themselves. So you'll still get that autocomplete and syntax highlighting inside a .vue file that you might not get without that. But yeah, I use Visual Studio Code. I really like it. Like I said, I use two different operating systems on my two computers, so I can use the same editor on both operating systems with the same settings. You can sync your settings back and forth, and I think that's a really cool feature. What do you use?
I also use VS Code, and it is much faster than the previous code editors I've been using, especially with all the extensions you can add to it. Linter.
What kind of linter do you use? I use ESLint, but I know a lot of people use Prettier, I think.
Actually, also use ESLint for JavaScript, and it's quite good.
Yeah, that's what we use ESLint with standard JS, I think. all these things, it doesn't seem like they would be that useful, right? It's just these small kind of quality of life improvements. But catching these errors early, and we all make some mistakes, we all make typos, and sometimes if you can just stare at your code and not see a typo for an hour or something, and then you just wasted all that time. But if you have the linter installed, it will tell you right there, like, hey, this variable is undefined, or what are you trying to do?
If you have anything to share, channel or something you want to have a link on the podcast.
The only thing I can think of to include, and this is only because we don't have time to talk about it here, is there's a tool in the Vue community called Vue UI, which is a visual tool for creating Vue projects and scaffolding out all the complex features. I recently did a talk on that at a local JavaScript meetup, and there's a YouTube video of that out there. So I would include that to be linked in if anyone is interested in further learning about Vue. And I do a demo of this Vue UI tool in that video. Other than that, I would point people to the official Vue.js docs, and there's an official Discord channel for Vue, which is linked on their main website. These are amazing resources if you want to get involved in the community. I just encourage people to get out there, make things, make pull requests, and contribute to open source.
Thank you for your time and sharing those great Vue.js tips.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks for having me on here. It's been a great time, and I love talking with you.